So once we set up the lines in its own individual layer, then we can start to control the line weights of each of these layers as well as the line type. For that, open up your layer property. Okay. Just to let you know that you could control all the line works individually per the lines or as a layer. You really good practice is to change all the line type and line weights as a layer instead of its own individual line. The only time you change the line information on its individual object is when it doesn't fit right into the output that you want. Okay, so we know that in this drawing the wall is probably going to be the thickest line, right? And it's going to be a continuous line. So in the wall, we're going to say the line weight is going to be, let's just say 0.5 millimeter, and say OK. Right? It really didn't seem to do anything. However, you can always, if you had checked off, where is that, line weight right here, this symbol right here, if you click on that, it'll kind of preview the lines for you. It's not a very accurate version of the actual line weights, but it'll give you an idea. Okay. The only way to really check is to print it out as a PDF and then print it out in a physical printer. However, if you wanted to kind of sort of preview it, you could always preview your line weights. So that being that, I'm going to take my line for the door and turn that into, let's say, 0.25 and say OK. So we tried it at 0.25 and it doesn't really render as so. But if you go to 0.3, you'll at least start to show a line weight. Okay, but like I said, these are per pixels, or they're just trying to get you to look at this thing in a pixel, so it's not very accurate. We'll give you a set of line weights that's probably good to use for each scale type drawing. Okay. So what we want right now is just to say that these are the thicker lines, thinner lines, the thinnest line right here. So if I go ahead and select the threshold as 0.2 or maybe 0.18, okay. And since this one isn't there either, I could set your swing as 0.18, but this time I'm going to change the line type. Okay, so line type is another command here. Everything, when we first start AutoCAD, you only get continuous line weight. You could always load a line type, and when you're loading a line type, please don't select anything that says ACAD at the front. Okay, so ignore all these ACAD ISO. Go ahead and go down to where it says maybe like dashed lines or hidden line. We'll select dashed line for now and say OK. And we're going to select this as the line type for the door swing. Okay, and then notice that if you zoom in real close, it made a dashed line. It looks a little bit small, but leave it alone, because when we print it, it'll come out right. Okay, so there we set a line weight and line type in what we're trying to get done. Okay, so if we get all of these, and for your drawings we'll change some of these line weights and stuff, but for now this is just a general idea. When we print this out, we're going to go into the layout space to print this, but for now we'll just keep this, and what I'm going to do is to print out the way, just as a preview, just print out the way we used to do it and show what's happening. Okay, so if you don't have to do this part. So if I say at 11, 8.5, that's a piece of paper. That looks correct because it's about 3 times less than the door, right? So if I scale this up, scale from there, if I scale it to 96, that's an 1/8 inch drawing. Control Z. If I scale it up to 48, that is a 1/4 inch drawing. Control Z. If I scale it up to a 24, that is a 1/2 inch, and the 1/2 inch seems to fit for now, right? And we really don't want this to be printed at 1/2 inch, but I'm just trying to show what it will look like when it's printed. So plot and continue. This part will go more in detail when we are going to print this thing out for real. Okay, and we're going to go to grayscale or monochrome, center, window, select, and then we'll do a what do we say, 1/2 inch? 1/2 inch, and then apply to, yep, and say OK. Oh, I have to select the device. Oops, wrong one. AutoCAD PDF. Landscape. Okay, or preview. And that's kind of what it's going to look like. Okay, and when you get closer, you could see the line weights and stuff. This one didn't change because we didn't really print it correctly. In the future, we'll print by paper space or layout space, but for now, I just wanted to show how this would kind of look if we were to print this out on paper.